Round number 5 of the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series gets itself underway in just a couple of moments' time, and we'll be trading the Under the Floodlights race on the banked ovals at Phoenix, and trading that for something a little different. Under the baking heat of the sun here in Florida, it's going to be a 26-lap event around the Sebring International Racing Circuit. You don't want to miss it.
Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMeritt at the line.
The 5th round of the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series gets itself off towards Sebring International Raceway, and well, this will be the 2nd road course on the iRacing calendar for this season. I am Connery Maddock, and with me in the commentary booth today is going to be the one, the only Will Vincent. Qualifying is underway. Your first times are coming up on the board right now. Matteo Ugolotti currently provisional pole position, but I just want to take a bit of time, Will, to talk about this track because it isn't one that we usually see on the, at least the real life Verizon IndyCar Series calendar, but it's one that can throw up a lot of surprises.
No, they test here on the modified layout, but it's very, very rare that we see them actually running on the full road course. And it's a bit of a hit and miss track for the drivers in this series as well, because it's very bumpy, and therefore setting up a car for this track, arguably one of the most difficult on a road course.
Yeah, very, very difficult indeed, especially with all those bumps you see out there on circuit with the different surface changes that you have to set up the car for as well. But currently, drivers that are on laps now. Henry Bennett has been looking so very, very strong earlier on in the week with the races that have been going on. He just exits himself out of Sunset Bend, gets a little bit of a twitch on the exit there, and he heads himself across line, trying to challenge for pole position, but he is quite far off the mark with a 39.141. But Bennett, P number 4, after, you know, if you look back throughout the splits over the course of this week, consistently P1.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is, of course, the strength of field race, the biggest race of the week, a lot of people see it as. And what it does mean is that business picks up. I mean, we've got some fantastic names here today. You look at, like, Matteo Ugolotti, you've got Nakura Ishida, Michele Constantini. Before you get to Henry Bennett, there's some big, big names.
Big names indeed, as the car coming out of the final corner, Sunset Bend, till number 20 of Oleg Foka heads his way across the line. Final sprint to the line for him on his final qualifying lap. Does not set a lap time. We're just waiting for Kinsella now to head his way across the line to pretty much finish things up here in terms of qualifying. Kinsella does not improve either. So that is pretty much the state of things right now. Matteo Ugolotti and Nakuru Ishida there on that front row. Now Ishida, that is not a name I recognize that well.
Yeah, same. 56, 139 iRating, however. So the guy has done a lot of racing on iRacing and has been successful as well. Number 2 ranked car as well as number 2 ranked position. So this guy, he's going to have to stay up there if he wants to keep his iRating high.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just see what he can do. As we do have 26 cars in your field, and that is the maximum allowed by the iRacing service for the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series. So we should be getting a whole bunch of action here as, well, the cars just wind themselves down on their cool-down laps after qualifying. We'll get that grid up for you in just a couple of moments' time. But there's one important thing to note here, Will, is that these guys get themselves a full pace lap here at Sebring. They'll get a chance to heat up those tires as, well, at some other tracks they perhaps wouldn't have.
And that plays big onto strategy as well. We've seen it in the past here in things like the 16th Street Racing League. Yes, it was in the the DW12, but because of this track, it's a long track. It's a track with a lot of straight lines in it. You've got to have that balance between high downforce, low downforce. And a lot of these drivers will use that pace lap to desperately save fuel.
Yeah, it's a fuel issue and a tire issue as well. We saw more of the latter at Phoenix with that first lap shenanigans where multiple drivers took themselves for a spin and a couple of power slides coming through turns 1 and 2. And you might say, maybe this is a road course, maybe this will be a little different, but that first turn can be absolutely treacherous at the start of an event when all of these cars are going 2 wide, 3 wide down into what is basically a funnel.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. And the thing about this track is passing can be very difficult. If you don't make passes, there's a way of making a pass run here, basically, Connor. You've got to be determined into it. You can't do a half-assed pass, otherwise you will spin.
Yeah, absolutely. You just really need that commitment either down the inside at perhaps turn number 7, the hairpin. You also need big commitment if you're going to make a move into turn number 10 and 13. But one of the most thrilling passing spots on this whole entire racetrack is that final, well, double apex right-hander, Sunset Bend. It's absolutely brilliant for side-by-side racing because of those multiple lines that can work out through there.
Yep, a million different lines, but only one of them, Connery, is ever correct.
Yeah, exactly, as the rest of the cars will just head themselves towards the grid right now. And one name I'm very interested in right now is Liam Quinn, down in P number 18, which is not exactly where I expect him to see, especially since he is the number 9 I-rated driver in this field as well. And looking back further through the field, we've got Randy Cheneth as well, a very own RaceSpot TV commentator representing us there. But let's just go through your full qualifying order as your cars roll off the line. Your front row will consist of the number 12 of Matteo Ugolotti lining up right beside Naruko Ishida on that front row. And behind them, you've got Michele Constantini and Henry Bennett. And behind them, on row number 3, Daniel Berenson, Thomas Sturm. Then down to P number 7, Moreno Cecilia, You've got also Dennis Garrison there, P number 8. Syandro will line up P number 9, and Robert Grusser will round out your 5th row.
Yeah, let's have a look a little bit further back. Row number 6, very interesting row. Jan Wankowski then, alongside Austin Esparti. You see him more on the road courses, but looking to do it on the road course here as well. Tim Holgate, we see him in the Indy Elite Series. He's showing up, and Jan Valverde in row number 7.
He will, and P number 15, Joseph Burton Harris there, getting himself alongside Simon Trendell, your highest I-rated driver in this entire field. So the number 1 driver, will look to get himself further up the field if he's going to retain some of that very high I rating. There's Jamie Wilson there, P number 17, Liam Quinn, P number 18, Lucas Navarrete, P number 19, Oleg Foka, P20.
And then P number 21, you got the number 16 machine, Roma Gluno there. Apologies. And then some guy called Ronnie Cheneth, P number 22, outside row number 11. Carlos Villa, 23rd place. Andrew Kinsella, all the way down in P number 24. And then last row, James King and Stephen Walker.
Yep, they will be lining up on the last row, James King, Stephen Walkup, and well, let's see if they can make any sort of charges through this field. We have a full grid of 26 cars for this event, so there should be plenty of fighting, plenty of scrapping to be talking about, but we've still got about half a pace lap here, and well, some of these drivers, of course, they'll be using this pace lap to save fuel. They'll also be using it to warm up the tires, but you've also got that mental aspect as well. It gives you a little bit more time to prepare yourself mentally for that for that first corner and for that first lap.
And also you can see if there's drivers ahead of you doing the weaves, as I call them. I hate drivers that do the weaves before you get, and the driver at the rear doing it. But you can just sort of understand the kind of attitudes of other drivers on the field as well. And they work themselves with the S's. You'll see some of them will go single file, some of them will stay double file. Those that go single file, you know they can be an easy target.
Yeah, and that's where the whole psychology of racing comes in, trying to find out where your opponent is weak, where they are strong, and trying to capitalize on that in your own way. Is they will continue to, well, some of these drivers will continue to weave their way down the Ullman Straight, but 2 by 2 they'll start to go now as they head towards that incredibly exciting final corner of Sunset Bend. And then after that, that pace car will dive down on towards the lane, and we will get things green flag racing here in Florida. So Matthew Ugolotti, he's going to have the outside line coming into Sunset Bend, but that's no worry because he'll be the inside line coming in towards the first corner. All eyes go towards that pace car right now as it dives down on towards the lane. Ugolotti hits the pedal to the metal immediately. Green flag racing here in Florida. Easy as it goes down in towards turn number 1, and perhaps not for Henry Bennett as he gets a little bit of a slide coming through there. Daniel Berenson looking to challenge P number 4 coming into turn number 3, but behind them Thomas Sturm and Moreno Sirica there going side by side through the first sector, but they managed to clean things up by the entry to Big Ben. Dennis Garrison also losing a place there to Syandra. They finally get themselves single file, at least for the vast majority of your top 15 or so, as they'll fan out once again on the brakes down in towards the hairpin. Stim still trying to attempt to move over Syandra for what will end up being P number 7 as they still go side by side up in towards P number 10. But I think Stim is just going to have to back out of this one. Going to have to try another day as he's completely ignoring my advice there. Has a little bit of a look, a little bit of contact behind as well between Rachkowski and Burton Harris. Apart from that, as I actually see another car that's actually spun around there, and that was the number 10 of James King, started on the back row of this entire grid, has gotten himself into a couple of issues.
Replay on board of him. He just outbrakes himself and then loses the back end. I think he got a little bit of love from behind. He actually gained up about 4 positions there, Connery. But that TBR car now back down at the rear of the field.
So back down where it's pretty much started there for James King, as the rest of your field, well, they're just starting to head their way to complete the first lap of 26. Yeah, we are expecting a scheduled stop, of course, coming at around about lap number 15. But Ishida looking very, very strong in P number 2 at the moment. Looks towards that inside line coming down towards turn number 1, but is not brave enough to go down the inside there. As this front three, have already started to look to break away from the rest of the pack here.
Yeah, and you're talking about Henry Bennett here in this event and how he struggled in qualifying. He's struggling in the race as well. One of the things we haven't really talked about, Connery, is the 20-kilometer-an-hour gust of wind at this racetrack. And I think Henry Bennett's had it lucky in terms of weather so far this week, as behind there is going on for P number 5.
Yep, there is, as that will be the battle between, I believe that's Berenson versus Sirica. They're heading their way down towards turn number 10 of Cunningham, but I don't think Sirica's close enough to be able to make this move down into there. Deep on the brakes he'll go anyway, trying to gain any tenth of a second that is available, as he has to be a bit careful there on the exit of the corner. But here comes Syandra. This is the reason why he had to be careful. Around the outside goes Syandra, around Tower Corner, or at least attempts to. But the thing is, that will put him under threat from Thomas Sturm behind, but Sturm not close enough to capitalize either.
Yeah, and let's go back to the points we made early on, Connery. That overtaking can be tough here, and you have to do it in a number of different ways and be bold, like Syandra was around the outside there down at Cunningham, but he couldn't make the move stick. And gain positions early here at Sebring often is the name of the game.
Yep, it is, and well, those one of those drivers that has really pulled out those positions out of the bag in the first 2 laps of this event. Joseph Burton Harris up 5 positions from P number 15 to P number 10, so that's the fantastic start needed that we've been talking about. And for Joseph Burton Harris, top 10 finish will be absolutely great for him considering his qualifying position. But looking further back through the field, though, Tim Holgate has just lost a position to Leo Valverde as he'll go dive down the inside of turn number 1. What a reply there from Holgate.
Replay going to come up for that one then. On board with...
Oh, he's around.
Tim, what are you doing?
Well, he goes from hero to zero pretty much as he does that epic dive down the inside at turn number 1. But the thing is, the car just broke away from him in the subsequent couple of corners, gets tagged around by another driver as well. So a feeling of elation to a feeling of despair there, Will.
Yeah, I think I know what the issue was. He actually got 2 tyres into the tyre barrier down at Sunset Bend, and I think that just upset the balance of that race car a little bit. I'm going to get one more look. I'm just going to pause the camera right about there. We talk about the million lines through Sunset Bend, Connery. He tried to, and you can see as we just roll the camera now, he goes off, and it's kind of a bank once you go off the concrete onto the grass, and it does pull you right into the wall.
Yeah, so that's one of the risks that you have to be dealing with when you're going through a corner like Sunset Bend. You have to consider those bumps. You have to consider how much space on track exit that you'll be expected to have taking a different line through there as well. So that is a very, very interesting thing to note. Let's see if anyone takes a trip into that concrete barrier or those tire walls on the outside of that corner. But looking at the live pictures now, Matthew Ugolotti has really, really stamped his authority on this race so far. 2 seconds coming up onto lap number 4. That is the gap between P number 1, P number 2. Meanwhile, Syandra and Moreno Sirica, they were going side by side, heading towards the line for P number 6 and P number 7. But these drivers seem relatively evenly matched.
They are. And Syandra in P number 6 right now in the number 17 car. I actually didn't see a lot of him for a while on RaceSpot TV, but of course he's back in the IR18 in that number 17 car. And then Moreno Sirica down in 24 in terms of his iRating out the 26 drivers. So just scraped into the field here today. I say scraped in, still a 3,400 iRating driver.
Yeah, the overall strength of field here in this top split event is 4,219, so a lot of championship points on offer here as the number 7 and number 5, they were slicing and dicing coming down in towards turn number 10, and I think Burton Harris has successfully defended that position from Garrison as Garrison will go a bit too deep on the brakes, tags Burton Harris around into a drift, but Burton Harris, he's managed to keep a hold of that one.
Yeah, I think Garrison actually just lifted off and didn't want to make the pass when Burton Harris got himself sideways into that corner, but as a consequence, here comes Austin Espartee.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, Simon Trendell will get the overspeed over Robert Grosser here down the Ullman Straight. He can possibly complete this move on the brakes, but the thing is, Grosser could find some grip out there on that wider lines. He takes a huge amount of entry speed there into the corner, and actually, that's going to really, really benefit him as Trendell struggles on that inside line. But ahead, Dennis Garrison looking, watching and waiting and stalking to try and get himself past Austin Espartee here, but he is only unsuccessful coming in through turn number 1, looking through turn number 3 now, and the opportunity was kind of there, but it was more of a last lap opportunity than a lap 5 opportunity.
Yeah, as we're just having a look then on board of Espartee, Dennis Garrison right behind him in that battle going on for P number 11. Got to give credit actually to these drivers. They have for the most part kept it clean at what, as I said before, can be a difficult racetrack, as that's Trendell and Grosser going side by side.
Oh, and there's Garrison in a couple of issues there. Coming off of the turn number 7 hairpin, tries to get the power down. Car wasn't having any of it, and as a result, he loses not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4 positions there for Dennis Garrison, driver of that number 5 car. So that is not what he would have wanted on the exit of turn number 7. But look who's on the back of this train now. That's Liam Quinn looking to chase down the rest of these IR18s that are currently in this very, very solid mid-pack.
Yeah, actually on board with Liam Quinn right now. A lot of lines, different lines being taken. Drivers are struggling here today, Connery, as they work themselves through the Esser section down towards turn 16, Le Mans. And that will open up more opportunities as these tyres fall off for people who can negotiate that corner well into Sunset.
Yeah, exactly. As you see the slightly different lines take effect yet again coming into Sunset. Benders Quinn has to be careful here, runs 2 tires onto the grass. That was very, very close indeed. In terms of heading himself in towards those tire barriers, but he manages to get away with it this time. But maybe he should take that as a little bit of a warning that if you track exit too much there, you will be having a very, very quick end to your race. But Quinn still trying to chase down Robert Grosser as it stands. But if you look further back through the field, though, you see a couple other battles going on. We see Randy Chenoweth actually having to avoid a car that was off there. That's Garrison. So Garrison's not having a very good time of things at all in the number 5 machine. Again, it was exit oversteer, this time off of what was turn number 5.
Yeah. One thing that's worth noting is Chenoweth is up now over 6 places now in this event. But he is now into a period of clean air, as he's got 5 seconds before he gets to the next driver, as Andrew Kinsella now down to the inside of Dennis Garrison. If you know a driver's had 2 spins in the space of a lap, and his spot is telling you that one, Connery, you take it very carefully.
Yeah, but does Kinsella take it carefully heading down into turn number 13? Seemingly so, as Garrison, his tyres must be mightily complaining about the heat that's gone through them as a result of those little spins, those little, half spins as well. So that car isn't feeling very, very good at all. And one of the things that could be playing into this is the fact that the track temperature is around 41 degrees Celsius right now. So that could be making things a bit hot, a bit slick.
Same way we talked about that wind temperature, that wind speed earlier on as well. Sebring is a track, because it's an airfield, Connery. It means that it's wide open. So if you've got a hot track and it's windy, there is literally no hiding from the elements with these cars. Very little shade on the racetrack as well. So if the air temp is high, the track temp is high.
It is, and those are the weather conditions that your drivers out here on the racing circuit have to deal with, as Carlos Villa very, very close to the back of Randy Chenoweth right now, looking to get that run coming in towards Big Bend, but skips over the curb a little bit. He loses a little bit of momentum, and this is where we can start talking about the push to pass feature. It's basically an overtake button. It gives your car a little bit of a boost to the horsepower to try and get yourself drawn up alongside another car, but you can also use it to defend as well.
Yeah, as Carlos really actually loses a lot of time compared to Randy Chenoweth on the run through the hairpin. Just gets the exit, all forms are wrong. And you're right, it gives you an extra boost of horsepower. You can only use it a certain number of times as well as around.
He is, and is this another case of oversteer? It looks like it's going to be. Is that slight left? The car just wasn't settled after coming out of the slow speed corner, and well, even that far away from the slow speed corner still wasn't settled, and Via goes for a little bit of a spin there. That puts him down into P number 20, which is still 3 positions gained on his qualifying position, but it's nowhere near the P17 he was at the start of this lap.
And Wilson's up a place. He's up into 13th place now. He's got past Robert Grossi. Let's go back to talk about that push to pass one more time, though, Conway. Because one of the things that will be worth noting about it is drivers need to remember they cannot use it all the time. It's not like DRS or in terms of Formula 1. It's more about a set number of uses, and once they're gone, they really are gone.
Yeah, so the drivers have to make a conscious decision of whether they want to use those push-to-passes early to try and make up positions or to try to defend positions, or do you save them for what would be the second stint of this race later on to try and make up those positions later on the car ahead that you think, oh, if only I was just a little bit closer. You can use that push-to-pass to try and get yourself within an opportunity to try and overtake, as I think Thomas Sturm in the number 21 had an issue there. Coming out of the turn number 7 hairpin, clipped the gravel on the inside a little bit, and the car just wasn't settled yet again, and he loses what is going to be quite a few positions. There was P number 8 last time by. He's now P number 12.
Good save by him, though.
Yeah, very good save, but he does have a little bit of damage to that front wing. The front wing of that Logical Vortex sim racing car at the moment, so he's going to have a little bit of an issue trying to lock onto the back of the 3 cars in front of him, the cars of Burton Harris, Austin Esparti, and Trandell. As here comes Austin Esparti for the move. Early defensive line taken by Burton Harris in towards Sunset Bend, but can Esparti hold the momentum around the outside? It doesn't look to be the case, but Esparti still in a position to challenge, perhaps in towards turn number 1, as it could have been also a defensive push to pass used by Burton Harris.
Yeah, in towards 1 they come again. And if you're going to use the push to pass, you probably want to use it either on the exit of turn number 4 or the exit of turn number 16, because the front straightaway, you just don't really have enough time, Connery. In turn number 1, you can make a move there, but in these cars, it's really complicated. It is worth noting, though, Burton Harris is playing defensive driving and all aboard the Burton Harris train.
Meanwhile, at the front, that gap has come down to around about half a second, so Ugolotti really struggling as we hit the second half of this first stint. He did have a gap of around about 2 seconds on lap number 4. That gap has come down to that 0.6 of a second that you're seeing right now, and that is basically compounded over the last couple of laps. A 140.6 on lap number 7, a 140 point flat lap number 8, and I think this lap time is going to be a little bit slower than that as well, so Ishida has a very good opportunity to take the race lead here, as Simon Trandell has run into a couple of issues. The number 1 car, I think that was on the exit of what was going to be Cunningham Corner, and let's just see what happened here. Again, it's exit oversteer. It's struggling to get the power down, so this seems to be a theme through quite a few drivers now. It
is, and as these tyres fall off, and the big difference between this car and the DW12, Connery, is that tyre life is vastly different. Now, in the old car, it was a case of, yeah, you could push the tyres, and if you push them too hard, they would fall off. Natural tyre wear, of course, we saw it most famously in the last round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It is huge at the moment.
Absolutely huge, and well, we do have a iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series race tomorrow there, so make sure you tune in for that one on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live as well. I'm pretty sure Will can talk much more about that after this race has concluded, but battle for P number 9 is still on. Austin Esparti versus Burton Harris. We saw this one just a lap or so ago head their way across the line, very close indeed, and then close again they head in towards turn number 7, but Esparti is just not really having all that many opportunities right now. Burton Harris is managing this defensive line that he's been running, especially in towards Sunset Bend, and it's really keeping Esparti behind right now, and it goes back to what you said at the top of the show, Will. It's quite difficult to pass here.
Yeah, it really is, although, of course, issues with drivers around him has made it a bit easier now, both for Burton Harris and for Espartee, because Espartee now can ease off the noisy pedal a little bit if he feels he needs to preserve tyre life. And also for Burton Harris, he now can almost think, okay, if I do make a mistake, I'm going to lose 1 position, not 4, like was the case about 2 laps ago.
Yeah, exactly. So the only position he can theoretically lose through a slight mistake is the one to Espartee, but because Thomas Sturm is still a second or so further back of this dueling pair, as through Sunset Bend they will go, and they take relatively similar lines this time, so I wouldn't expect the momentum to be too different coming off of the corner and down in towards turn number 1, but Espartee shaping up the body language of his car, wanting to go down towards the inside there as Burton Harris will go off into the gravel. You can do that a bit there, turn number 1, but it's always a scary predicament as this battle for the race lead, Ugolotti versus Ishida, this one is heating up, getting close.
It is. And let's have a look at the lap times between these two, because I noticed the fact that Ishida actually took, over the last 3 laps, he's taken a second out of Ugolotti's time. Last time when I really checked it, it was up to about 2.4, 2.5 seconds. Now back down to less than half a second, and that's now into the window that you've got to be bold on towards pit road. And pit entry and pit exit here, Connery, both notoriously difficult, mainly because the fastest way on towards pit road is come out wide from Sunset Bend and then literally dance across the track into pit road, slam on the brakes and hope you don't lock up.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of instances there previously where drivers have tried to take that wide exit and then shallow entry in towards the pit lane. A bit of miscommunication between a couple of drivers has happened in the past, and well, let's hope that doesn't happen here between Ugolotti and Ishida as they'll both stay out this time. We expect the nominal pit window to be around about lap number 15, but here comes the momentum now for Ishida down towards turn number 1. I think there was a push to pass used there, but he was still too far back to be able to capitalize on that extra horsepower.
And Espartee's up a position, he's up into 9.
He is, and he's still battling with Burton Harris off the corner. Burton Harris has another opportunity here coming on the outside of turn number 1, which is possible here for the number 7 driver. It requires a little bit of bravery though, and he's going to hold it on the outside. Fantastic for Burton Harris, but he still hasn't completed this move yet. Outside again for turn number 3 before it finally returns to the inside. Very good reply from Burton Harris.
Pass of the day, easily pass of the day. Let's get ourselves another look at that one, Connery. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was very, very awesome indeed as they were side by side through Sunset Bend. Burton Harris taking that outside line, Espartee on the inside, and Burton Harris just the bravery to go for the outside line there, albeit Espartee didn't give him much of a choice even though the lane was open, but to hold it around the outside in the slight bit of marbles that have collected out there and to complete that move on the brakes into another outside line corner for Burton Harris, that is really impressive.
Yeah, so we have a look then from the aerial coverage, and it was so brave to go to the outside and try and hold it there, but he just kind of almost pinched Espartee down into what is essentially turn number 3, and that's what you need to do, pinch them but don't run into them.
Yeah, you can be aggressive but not overly aggressive in terms of your, well, trying to bully other drivers. No car contact, but you can just give a little bit of an indication of where you want them to be and where you can force them to be. As battle for P number 11 right now is a thing. It's Thomas Sturm versus Jamie Wilson, as Wilson will have to go around the outside or look for the cutback here, which is possible coming through Sunset Bend. Look to get that exit speed off the corner, but Wilson just not able to at this moment in time. Will remain P at number 11 now as he heads his way across the line. But back towards your leading battle, Ugolotti versus Ishida, and well, with the time Ugolotti had lost on lap number 9, lap number 10, lap number 11, it seems that he's woken up again as a result of him losing hemorrhaging times at Ishida, and he's just now sitting in front managing that gap.
He is, and that is a look at Ugolotti and his car. I haven't actually shown much of Ugolotti here today. That's the funny thing. When you're leading and you pull away, we don't really show too much about you. I will say one thing. We have some fantastic liveries in this IR18. I cannot wait until we get to the iRacing Indy 500 and we see, because I don't think there's going to be a single red, white and black car on the field.
Yeah, and that's always fantastic to see a multicolored display of liveries at the Indy 500. It would be a sight to behold, and it's always good to have more interesting liveries than just your standard grays and blacks or whites and blacks and things like that. Just add a little bit of color, add a little bit of spice in there, and everyone will be happy. But in terms of this one, we're getting very, very close to the pit stop window right now. In fact, Randy Chenoweth has headed his way down on towards the lane already, is the only driver so far to have made a scheduled stop.
And I think we've just seen part of the day, actual part of the day now. Jamie Wilson down to the inside, into the S's on the run down to Le Mans. Kind of was able to hold Thomas Stern alongside him through the two kinks and got himself two wheels almost off the track. Wilson, very bold on the run towards pit stops.
Incredibly bold, and that results in him being +7 for the day. Stern will try to reply on the inside of turn number 1, but is absolutely unsuccessful there. Maybe that little bit of front wing damage is starting to come into play for him, because that is a very, very downforce dependent corner, as we do have a couple of drivers down on towards the lane. We have Joseph Burton-Harris, we have Liam Quinn, and we have Carlos Villa deciding to take their pit stop service. So around about 9.7, 9.8 seconds is the stationary time in the box to get fresh tires and fuel to the end.
And these guys, of course, they're trying to hope on the fact that, as Carlos Villa comes out as well, by the way, my favourite liveries car of the day, they're hoping on the fact, a long track lap, and the fact that, you know, tyre wear seems to be a thing, and the fact that passing's going to be hard, means the undercut kind of works here. And I think, though, for the driver Burton Harris, he needs to have a stonking outlap now.
He really does, and that is just what he needs to try and prevent the undercut from Joseph Burton-Harris, which is a very aggressive move by him. So let's just see how well that will work out for him. Meanwhile, your race leaders down on towards the lane. Ugolotti and Ishida coming on exactly the same lap. So does Michele Constantini, MP number 3. So does Henry Bennett and Daniel Berenson. It's a pit party.
Yes, it is. Ugolotti will have the first pit stall. Ishida, the second one. Don't overshoot your box. Up for Ugolotti. Same for Ishida. Both down at the same time. Ugolotti's got it.
He has, and so will Ishida. He'll get himself off of the lane as well. Constantini going to be held a little bit long there, I feel. At least fractionally longer than the rest of your field. Henry Bennett following closely off of pit lane. Daniel Berenson gets himself off as well, as they're side by side in the pit lane here. Bersin Sirica and Syandra, as they'll have to sort this one out relatively quickly. It's a very unorthodox pit exit here, as Syandra will take that inside line and Sirica will take the outside, and Sirica will come out on top of that one. It's not every day you see side by side off the lane.
Nope, especially in a narrow pit road like this as well. Look at how close these two were through pit road exit. You've got to be careful as well, because of course you can get a penalty if you try and merge into the track too early. Diandra knowing that one, taking a very tight line. You really want to drive it around the outside. One thing I will say though is that Matteo Ugolotti up into, actually, just ignore me, Connery. My timing screening glitched, and I forgot the fact that Simon Trendell. I blew it, all right? The graphics going up.
Thing is, you blew it that many times this broadcast, as much as I've blown it this broadcast. Let's just hear that one after the race. But Matteo Ugolotti and Ishida still very close out there on circuit, even though it's for currently P number 2. This is our leading battle out there on circuit once Simon Trendell decides to head his way down in, which will probably be this time by, as the field is cutting it quite close here. You can't really extend these stints too long, so Simon Trendell will get his car slowed down. In fact, will not take that outside line exit coming through Sunset Bend and then cut across. He just stayed towards the inside, just got the car slowed down towards lane. So different philosophies of how to enter pit lane here at Sebring. It's one of the many facts about this track which makes it very, very unique. Yeah.
One thing I also want to talk about a bit more here, Connery, is the fact that we've had ourselves that long pit stop. Sorry, that long pace lap, that's what I was looking for, sorry. And you can see the difference in the amount of fuel the guys save. Matteo Ugolotti, Ricardo Ishida, as I say that, he's gone past there. Something No, they still
side by side. Still side by side as wow. That was Ugolotti getting all sorts of squirrely off of turn number 7. They'll take the fight down towards turn number 10, but Ishida will get himself in front as Ugolotti's not going to give up as Ishida's outbroken himself coming down towards turn number 10 of Cunningham, and this allows Matteo Ugolotti to try and run for the hills now for the rest of the second stint.
Right, let's have a look at that one again, because this got very busy very, very quickly, Connery.
It did. So initially, side by side down in towards turn number 7, hairpin. Ishida on the outside, Ugolotti on that inside, struggling for traction, and that could also be the result of a little bit of the dirt that's been brought on track there, as is usually the case there at that part of the circuit at Sebring. And Ishida managed to complete this pass. He was ahead before even the braking zone started, but he saw the move towards the inside that Ugolotti was trying to pull, thought too much about that, forgot to brake for the corner, and as a result, he's put himself into the grass.
Yeah, and let's have one more look on board with that number 2 car of Ishida. Go straight on. I think he got into the dirt there as well, Connery. That might have been the issue.
It could well have been, as the Sebring racetrack does tend to attract dirt onto the racing surface because of the little bits of dirt just beyond the curbs that can be brought onto the circuit, and that is thanks to the iRacing's dynamic track system. So you get marbles, you get dirt and debris, you also get your racing line rubbered in as well. So, and well, on the dirt side of things as well, on the dirt ovals and the rallycross, you've got that dynamic dirt moving around as well. So the racetrack does really feel alive in those sorts of situations, and the racing is alive right now. Here comes the P number 6, P number 7 battle. So, that's Sayandra just getting himself past Moreno Sirica here, but head down in towards turn number 7, and I think that was a continuation of the move that, well, Sayandra had to pull around the outside in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, it was a long, long pass that took place there. All the way from turn number 1 down to turn number 7. Liam Quinn, by the way, has just made a boo-boo. And that's down in turn number 3. Just hits the high curb, and that's the only point of this racetrack, really, Connery, where there are high curbs. Down turns 2, 3, and 4. Quinn hits one of those, turns himself around.
Yeah, easily done if you hit that curb a bit too hard, as it's, well, it's a long, skinny curb, but it is a very, very high curb, and can easily upset cars such as these, as Quinn is now going to be down in P number 16, still +2 on his qualifying, so not a bad day, but not a very great day either, considering how high he was running. But closest battle out there on circuit right now, at least for major positions, this is Michele Constantini versus Henry Bennett, and Henry Bennett faster by about 0.2 of a second last time by.
Yeah, as we're just showing then the movers and shakers in your event today. Up 8 places. Up at 8 places the driver in P number 9, Jamie. Well, sorry, 8 places for Jamie Wilson. Down 6 places for the driver currently in 12th place. That is Thomas Stern. But so there has been some movement here, just not inside your top 5, Connery.
Yeah, your top 5 are pretty much how they lined up in qualifying. Ugolotti, Ishida, Constantini, Bennett, and Berenson. That does not change from qualifying. Well, and you also got Sayandra there, P number 6 +3 for the day, Austin SPT +4, Burton Harris +5, Trendell +5. So a lot of drivers have made a couple of moves through the field here. And we haven't had that many retirements either. We've had Randy Chenoweth, Yo Valverde, Ollie Cooper, Tim Holgate, and Lucas Navarrete. And the rest of the 21 cars that we have out there on circuit are still running.
Yep. Oh, Randy Chenoweth is out. What a shame. But just having a think back, some of the things we talked about, the undercut, and I was starting to make a point here before the battle for the race lead kicked off. Ugolotti did a 9-second pit stop. Ishida did 9.5. Constantini did 9.6. They all came in on the same lap. That shows how good Ugolotti was saving on fuel at the start of this event, because he's been in clean air the entire race.
Yeah, the only drivers that have had a shorter pit stop time were Carlos Villa down in P number 17, and the car of Dennis Garrison down in P number 14. So especially amongst these front runners, Ugolotti has done a very good job in trying to save that fuel. Or is this just the fact that he's short-filled and may have fuel issues to the end here, and we'll have to save on this second stint? We just don't know that. We can't see the fuel numbers.
We can't. What we can tell, though, he's pulling away again, and he's done so over the last couple of laps. Here is a look then. Matteo Ugolotti, last couple of laps, he was pulling away. Although Ishida, again, big gain of 0.8 of a second. I just think that today's winner is going to be the driver who makes the least mistakes.
Certainly seems to be the case, as the track is looking very, very slick out there, as battle for P number 3 on right now. Constantini defending from Henry Bennett in towards turn number 10 there, as Bennett is looking threatening. Gained a 10th on that last lap, looks to have gained just a little bit more than that on this lap number 19, but a little bit of a compromised line there coming through turn 13, allows Constantini to get away just that little bit, as towards the S's before the Le Mans corner. Bennett has even closed this gap up, you know, over the last couple of corners, let alone over the last couple of laps, and has put himself in a good position, not right now to challenge into Sunset Bend, or perhaps he'll use one of those push to passes and use the slipstream to get himself in the position to be able to. Looks towards the inside, very aggressive move there from Bennett, but he's going to have to stay behind just for now. Constantini will get the run off of the corner, and all things will be the status quo. Michele Constantini P3, Bennett P4 across the line.
Yeah. In towards one, they will come once again, Connery. Oh, let's get that wrapped up. That's right. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. That was just Henry Bennett has not won this motor race. We promise. Not yet, or not him anyway. But Thomas Dunn, the drivers here today, we've only seen one or two of them make big mistakes, Connery. We've seen a lot of slide jobs down at turn number 7. We've seen a lot of people just lose it a little bit under acceleration, but we're not really seeing too many huge mistakes, and I think that's going to be a testament to these guys. Let's not forget, this is a month now they've been able to play around with the IR18, and their adaptation to this car has been terrific.
It has been brilliant, and the racecraft in general has been fantastic as well. The only big instance there, we haven't really seen many big instances here. We've seen slides and self spins, and that is pretty much it. Not much car-on-car contact, but we still have 6.5 laps to go in terms of this one, so that could definitely all change if these drivers start to get a little bit feisty, especially Bennett and Constantini for P number 3, who's going to come out on top of that one. Well, we have 6 laps to decide it. Next time they head their way across the line, will Bennett be close enough to make a move down in towards Sunset Bend this time? He's just going to sit in the slipstream here, will draw himself up, perhaps alongside on the braking zone if he's brave enough to go down the inside. He is brave enough to go down the inside. So a second attempt here for Bennett as he, well, struggles to keep the traction in the middle of the corner, and, well, it's very well done there for Bennett to avoid drifting up into Constantini on the outside.
He's brave. They are both brave here today. Sunset Bend, you can easily run too wide, but you've got to have a lot of trust for the people around you. And that is exactly what these two guys have had. It is hard racing between Constantini and Bennett. And of course, we've seen them racing quite a lot here on RaceSpot TV in a number of different series, like the Indy Elite Series, like also in terms of the, what's the word I'm looking for here, Connery? I've missed one. But in a number of the different series that we watch here on RaceSpot TV, and it is fascinating to see the fact that the community on the IndyCar is smaller than what we have in a number of other ones, but it means the drivers really get to know each other.
Yeah, they do. It is a really a close-knit group, even though we forget the series names sometimes. But and you were part of this community for quite a while, even before you were broadcasting these races. You were also a team owner as well, so you have some quite unique insights into how these guys organize themselves. Yeah,
and of course that started back off in the IRE5 days into DW12. And a lot of these guys have been teammates, you know, for turning 6-7 years now. You think about teams like Ludicrous Speed, which has got the likes of Tim Holgate on it. He's not doing very well today, Tim Holgate, but, you know, Ludicrous Speed have been going on since about 2010, since ever I've been a member of the IndyCar community. So the bonds that these drivers have with each other is huge, but then also the way people understand each other, it does often make for cleaner racing. I have seen 1 or 2 drivers in 1 or 2 instances when that's not the case, but for the most part it is cleaner racing that comes with it.
And will this be clean racing between Constantini and Bennett, as Bennett down towards the inside, potentially through turn number 1, but not really able to make it work. So Bennett's been presented these opportunities, but hasn't really been capitalizing on them, as Constantini kind of messes up his line coming through the first sector there. So this is something that Bennett could possibly capitalize on coming through Big Bend, maybe line up that move down the inside at turn number 7, but will he go for a dive this far? Back closes up, looks for the move. Number 4 down towards the inside through the slow speed right-hand hairpin. Almost cuts off Constantini's front wing there, but that's Bennett up into P number 3.
Yeah, and we've got a driver turnaround as well. Number 24 machine of Zurika, who started off so well in this event, now falling down to P number 10, P number 11 on track.
Constantini around. Oh, he tried the move back on Bennett towards turn number 10, but he pays the price of being spun round by Henry Bennett there, as I think you kind of do have to start to pin the blame on Bennett there for that one, as we'll get a replay on screen.
Yeah, we will do. We'll take a couple of moments for it to come up. Here is the look at the first pass down into turn number 7. And you're right, there was contact there between Bennett and Constantini first. But I think that Bennett really wanted that pass because he knew he was running out of push to passes. And he realized that he could probably drive away in pure pace. And then Constantini back to the outside. That needs one more look, Connery.
It does. It perhaps needs one more look from above as well to try and get the gist of the situation. But in my view, Constantini was clear and kind of had the right to the racing line through the corner, but Bennett went a little bit too deep and, as a result, ran into the back of Constantini's rear right tyre.
I agree with you. On the second look, it's a lot clearer to understand.
It is, but, you know, that's the sort of situation that you have to deal with. Bennett still P number 3. Constantini only drops to P number 4, but that car could be very, very wounded. And there's a certain Daniel Berenson behind there looking to take that P number 4 in the not too distant future if Constantini's car is very much injured. So that is the situation that we're dealing with, and number 18 looking to get a good finish here over the number 19 of Michele Constantini. So the lower I-rated drivers here really having a good time with things.
Yeah, sorry, Andra is as well. Hugo Lotti's lost it.
He has, and where is that? I think that was coming into turn number 10 there, I believe, or I think that's actually tower
from
corner
the race
there.
lead.
Yeah, from the race lead. So number 12. Again, I think, does he clatter the curb there? I think he does clatter the curb a bit too much on that apex, and as a result, in the last 4 laps of this event, Ishida is now leading.
High curb down at turn number 10. And we talked about the high curbs down at turns number 2, 3, and 4. The curbs down at turn 10 aren't as high, but if you attack them too much at this racetrack, this is the thing about this racetrack, you've got to understand your limits. It's actually a perfect track for people who want to refine their racing, because you've got to stay within the track limit and you can't really abuse it too much.
Yeah, you can't, and that is something now Ishida has to be very, very conscious of. He's leading by about 10 seconds now, but he's already seen the ex-race leader Matteo Ugolotti go for a spin. Now, is that something that starts to play on a driver's mind a bit? You've seen many, many drivers over the course of this race make those sorts of mistakes, hitting the curbs, struggling to get the power down off the corner. Is this the point where Ishida just goes, okay, I'm going to go at 90% right now instead of 100?
95, but yeah. Because, of course, we always say, oh, and Bereson's lost it. Just as I was about to start saying nice things about him. That one's down at turn number 7. Oversteer on the exit of the corner. People are starting to get aggressive. And that's why I say 95%, not 90, Connor, because you've got to keep your brain in check. You don't want to be in a situation where you need to push maybe at the end or get past some lap traffic, and then you kind of brain fade away. As Bereson's there, it was just a simple spin on the exit of turn number 7.
And we've seen that, 5 or 6 times today in, well, similar spots around the racing circuit. It's definitely not something that is unusual for this race, and Berenson is just another victim, if I'm completely honest there. But Henry Bennett versus Ugolotti for P number 2. this could possibly be an issue for Ugolotti, considering how his tires might have been affected by that spin. But of course, Henry Bennett carrying a little bit of front wing damage, in fact, to that number 4 machine. So we'll see their relative paces as they head their way across the line. A 141.8 from Ugolotti, a 141 flat from Henry Bennett. So Bennett has a chance here if he puts in a blistering 2 laps to the finish.
Yeah, and one thing that's worth noting as well is how many push-to-passes does Henry Bennett have left? I think 2 maximum. Ugolotti might still have all of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, Ugolotti hasn't really had to be using them that much. He only battled with a few laps for a few laps with Ishida. So unless he used a couple at the start of the race to try and build that gap over Ishida, he probably has a lot more in reserve than Henry Bennett at this stage.
And another moment then for the number 18 machine. It seems to be that if you spin this car, it just gets so slippy. That's down into turn number 1 there for Barrison, off onto the gravel. And he actually slows it out. I'm not sure what happened to him at all. I think his car is toast in terms of grip. And I think a lot of these drivers have been pushing far too hard. And actually, this is what might keep Henry Bennett in it. If Ugolotti was pushing too hard, remember both in the first and the second stint, Connery, he did push really hard. That might give Bennett the opportunity, although he's just gone off.
Yeah, and he might have to be careful about the slowdown penalties in that area of this racing circuit, as he's also going to be a little bit slow coming down the Almond Straight, so that could be Henry Bennett's challenge for P number 2 at its end, as we're on the final lap of this race right now. Ishida has come across the line to take the white flag, but we've still got a battle on for P number 4 right now between Michele Constantini and Syandra, as Constantini ran a little bit wide coming out on the exit of Sunset Bend, but Syandra, he's going to be about 7/10 of a second coming down in towards turn number 1. Gained a whole bunch of time that last lap, around about 1.5 seconds. So if he's able to do the same this lap, he could be in contention by the end of the lap. We also have the battle between Moreno Sirica and Dennis Garrison. That could also play a factor at the end of this race as well. We've also got Austin Espity involved with Jamie Wilson. So a couple of battles to keep your eye on here on this final lap. I think the closest one is between Austin Espity and Jamie Wilson down towards the turn number 7 hairpin. So that is one overtaking opportunity for Wilson gone. There's a couple more over the next couple of corners so that he can draw his car alongside, but I don't think he's going to be close enough. So he has to be thinking now, set up the move perhaps for entry to Sunset Bend, exit of Sunset Bend now for the driver of the number 11. And if he gets this pass done, he will be plus 11 for the day. And when you consider that at the start of this race, we were talking about how difficult it is to pass here, that is an incredible achievement for the number 11. But looking towards your race winner right now, coming through the final corner, Naruko Ishida, the driver of number 2, will head his way across the line to take round number 5 of the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series here at Sebring. Fantastic drive for him. You could say it was a bit of a gift at the end from Ugolotti spinning, but thing is, he put himself in that sort of position to capitalize on that one. Back to Wilson and Espity. Wilson aggressive on that inside line, coming in towards Sunset Bend, but still not close enough. Espity will hang on to P number 6. Looking back now to Sirica and Garrison, 24 versus the 5. This one is much closer through Sunset Bend, as Garrison will go for a little bit of a slide, and he will have to settle for P number 11 when all things are said and done. The rest of your field will come across the line in drips and drabs through the 19 other cars that are still running. But wow, that was what I would call just a good race there, Will. Good race.
And if there's one big takeaway from this, you need to be careful when driving these Indy cars. And when we get to certain other road courses on the schedule, that is going to be the big thing. It's not about how fast you can drive 20-30% of the race. It'll be about how you can actually manage the tires in these long 1 hour-ish races that take place and make sure that you get yourself basically consistency.
Yeah, and how do you get that consistency with the numerous tire issues that drivers have fallen foul to here today? But we'll talk more about that when the post-race show arrives. But for now, we'll just take you through our official finishing results. Taking home the race win by 15.1 seconds, Naruko Ishida there leads Matteo Ugolotti P number 2. And that was sorted out in the final couple of laps after Ugolotti, well, it's a self-error, a self-spin that gave up the race lead and the majority of that 15 seconds of time. Henry Bennett and Michele Constantini, that was a battle in through the final couple of laps, but ended up spacing out. Bennett will be P number 3, Michele Constantini P number 4. Syandra, Austin Esparti will get themselves P5 and P6. Jamie Wilson up 10 positions from 17th to 7th. Fantastic drive there from Wilson. We've got Simon Trendell with an equally fantastic drive as well, up 8 positions from 16th to 8th. We've got Thomas Sturm and Moreno Sirica rounding out the rest of your top 10 finishing results. Then the number 5, Vagenis Garrison, get himself P number 11. Jan Wachowski, not really talked about him that much, but P number 12 is a respectable result for him. We've got Daniel Berenson with many issues over the course of this race, which drops his qualifying position, from P number 5 down to a finishing position of P number 13. Robert Grosser, P14. Liam Quinn gains a couple of spots up into P number 15 as well. Then you've got the likes of Kinsella, Carlos Villa, Stephen Walkup, James King are the rest of your finishers on the lead lap. Then you've got drivers laps down through various incidents. You've got Giuliano Romanugo, you've got Joseph Burton Harris, which was looking so competitive earlier on, but fell foul, I believe, to a couple of technical issues at the end. There's Randy Chanoth, P number 22, Yoval Verde, P23. You've got Ollie Croker, Tim Holgate, and Lucas Navarrete rounding out your 26 car field. Well, join us in just a couple of moments where we'll be having the post-race show for RaceSpot TV's Friday night primetime, streaming live here on iRacing Live. Don't go away.
Chair of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMary at the line.
welcome back to the post-race show streaming live here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, the post-race show for the Verizon IndyCar Series week number 5 here at Sebring. And well, that was the event that you just saw. Naruko Ishida taking the checkered flag at the end. You've also got Matteo Ugolotti finishing P number 2, and we also got what seems like the entire grid in this commentary booth right now for an interview, so we'll have to be very, very quick here. But Will, you're standing by with the driver that finished P number 3, and that is Henry Bennett.
Indeed so. Henry Bennett coming home in P number 3 here today. Well, Henry, you seem to be dominating in terms of this week, in terms of the official series. Get to the broadcast race, can only qualify 4th, finish 3rd. Talk us through what happened.
Oh yeah, the field was just so strong. I had nothing for Naruko and Matteo. Yeah, just having a good fight with Michele, just running behind him patiently, and yeah, I have to apologise massively to Michele. Just did a bit wide when he was on my outside, and that just sent him spinning. So really sorry about that. I was should have given the position back, but just his Sai so close behind Michele, I didn't want to risk dropping 2 places, so I owe Michele big time for this.
Next week, we go to a very high downforce track at Barber. We've seen a lot of spins, we've seen a lot of issues with drivers struggling under power. Is that the new norm now in this IR18 and the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series? And how are you going to cope when we go to the Spiderweb?
I think it's hasn't changed much since the old DW12. It's always been difficult under power. I think there might be a little bit less downforce with the new car, so that could explain some of it. But yeah, looking forward to Barber. Always run well there.
Henry Bennett comes home 3rd place here today in that number 4 machine. And Connery, you talked about at the top, stacked field here today. Bennett can only manage in number 3.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas he'd been winning the splits previously, but the thing is, this has pretty much become the de facto SOF race in the Verizon IndyCar Series, at least for this season that we're broadcasting it. So this is where the major points are in play. But Henry Bennett has those other results to fall back on if he doesn't do very well in an SOF race. But we've also got the driver of Michele Constantini here, ended up finishing P number 4. And now, Michele, that was a very, very good race for you considering the standard of the field out there today.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to, well, it was actually a good race. I didn't expect to finish in the top. Well, when I saw the qualifying, I probably thought I could finish in the top 5, but before the race, I would not have think about that. And yeah, the race was pretty good. I started in P3, and Matteo and Naruko were just too fast to catch, so I just sat behind and just held my pace. And Henry we were having a very nice battle with Henry. We never went like more than 2 seconds apart from each other. And yeah, just an unfortunate mistake from him. It's all good. Sometimes it happens to make a mistake. And yeah, it was pretty good race. Yeah, as you said, considering the standards and the SOF of this race, it was a pretty good result. And yeah, in the road courses, I just try to bring home the points, and in the ovals, the goal is different. In the ovals, the goal is to win.
Yeah, very, very lofty goals for you there. Just take us through that instant, in fact, with Henry Bennett coming down up into turn number 10, I believe it was. You were on the outside line. You completed the pass even before the braking zone coming into that corner, but you described it as a mistake from Henry Bennett, but an understandable one.
Yeah, absolutely. Henry got the position in the hairpin, and then I tried the switchback, but he was still alongside me, so I had to sit behind him. And then I used the push to pass, and he covered the inside. I went on the outside under braking. I cleared him, and then I think he went in the brake for the braking zone, and then he left a bit to try and stay side by side. to not give the position, obviously, because we are fighting. And yeah, just he probably braked a little bit too late and just drifted up high, something that's completely understandable, and I absolutely accept the apology from him. I know he's a good driver, and yeah, looking forward to battle with him in the next races as well.
Well, that is very, very gentlemanly of you, as we are a little bit pressed for time here. So is there anyone else you want to thank before we decide to get to some of the other drivers?
Yeah, very quickly, I would like to thank my team, Vortex Sim Racing. I would like to thank all my teammates and who made the work for the setup. And our sponsors, Logical and JRT, and I would like to thank RaceBot, you guys, for the awesome broadcast as always.
Well, thank you very much for putting on a very, very good show, as well as Michele Constantini, P number 4 when all is said and done. But we will go back to Will Vincent, who will actually be standing by here with Austin Espety.
No, I'm not.
We still have 6 minutes.
Oh, I've got Sandra here first.
Oh, I did not notice the Wyvern Racing.
Ah, Si, you came home P number 5 today, rounded out your top 5, running in battles along the way, but it seems to be very difficult track conditions.
Yeah, I'm a little frustrated with my half spin in the first stint, but overall I think I fought back very, very well. I mean, getting a 5th from 9th on the grid is in itself a feat in this stacked field, so I think had I not spun, I probably would have been fighting with Michelle and Henry for the top 3, I think.
Next time out, we'll go to the Spiderweb. Spiderweb is gonna be a tough track. Difficult to pass, just like here. How important is qualifying gonna be?
Oh, extremely. When the entire field is separated, well, when the top 10 is separated by half a second, every single 10th, every single 100th matters. So, I mean, all things, everything. I remember last time we were at Barber in the old DW12, I think I gained a total of 1 spot the entire race, and that was the 1 spot that mattered.
Thanks and shout out so you get it done for you.
Just a shout out to my teammates, Joseph and Giuliano. They had some troubles this race, but I want to thank them for helping me build the setup and supporting me as I raced on.
Angela coming home P number 5, P6, Austin, Espety and Connery.
Yeah, and Austin, well, that was a fairly eventful race for you, shall we say. How was your charge through the field from P12 to P6?
It was eventful in the very beginning. Fell back a little bit, and just as the attrition rate went on, I just slowly picked them off one by one. I want to apologize to Joseph, Burton, Harris for the contact we had in the hairpin. I just tried to get in the late dive and locked up a little bit. I was able to keep him out and spun him out and put him further back, and eventually got disqualified for the incident points, but still like to apologize for that one.
Yeah, well, there's not really much you can do about that now except for apologize. As moving on to another topic, we saw a lot of drivers out there get a little bit loose, shall we say, for the lack of a better term or a better phrase. Is that an inherent problem with the IR18, or was it just the track conditions out there today? It was very hot, the winds were gusting in some places as well. So what's the deal with that? Why were some guys seemingly out of control out there?
The track was really slick, and there was a big gust of wind going out of Sunset Bend, so it made aero push really bad in the bump. Coming out, if you hit it just right when you're on power, the wind would gust you right around. So it's not more of a car thing, it was just more of a track condition thing. This car is very easy to put the power down, and it sticks.
Yeah, especially with those very, very meaty rear tires that just rip the road. But if that road is hot and slick and the winds are gusting, then maybe not so much. But is there anyone behind the scenes that makes your whole racing deal work there, Austin?
This whole setup with the team talent was just me and Liam. We kind of got up this setup good, and we've been using it for Long Beach and now Sebring. So it's a very good setup. So just everyone at Powerslide and team talent.
Well, that was Austin Espety coming home P number 6. As we've got about 1.5 minutes to interview Robert. Well, was going to be Robert Grossman there, as I believe. Robert Grosser, sorry.
You blow it again.
I blew it again. This has not been a very good broadcast for me blowing things, but Will, you're there with the Vortex Sim Racing driver.
Been number 14 today, Robert. Talk us through your race.
Yeah, I had a quite interesting race. not a very successful race. It was my very first one in this car, so I lacked a little bit confidence and race speed as a consequence of it. So started P10, finished P14, had some nice battles. So I'm quite happy with the debut in this series.
You want to give a shout out to from that Logical Vortex Sim Racing team?
Yeah, obviously our sponsors Logical Innovative Engineering and Joel Real Timing, all my teammates for working on the setup, and big thanks to you guys from RaceSpot for the great broadcast.
Well, thank you very much there, Robert Gross, and we interrupt this post-race show to remind you that tomorrow it's the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It will take place at my favourite track for a road course in the world. It is Montreal, and if anything from Phillip Island was to go by, this will be spectacular. The Cronkey streak is broken. We still got the VRS Commander SimSport streak though. That is alive and well. So what can Redline and the rest of them do? Catch it tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. GMT here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. Connery, back to you.
Yeah, and that's definitely a race you should definitely all tune in for. The changes that iRacing have made to that car has really thrown a spanner into the works for every single team, every single driver, and it's much, much more competitive than it has been in recent years, so it is a fantastic watch. But that is all we have time for today. That was the Verizon IndyCar Series, the iRacing Verizon IndyCar Series, week number 5 at Sebring. I've been Connery Maddock, that's been Will Vincent, and those were all our drivers. Naruko Ishida, P number 1. Let's just see what happens next week at Barber.